Welcome into another episode of Profits Picks. We're coming off a pretty good day yesterday. Let's look to keep it going. Today, we only have two games on the card. The rest of the week, we will have at least three. But a couple of teams got eliminated, so they're letting the rest of these teams duke it out. And we'll go through the card in order, as we always do today. I will give a side and total, and we will also look at a couple of player props. So first game we're going to touch on, we're going to go Utah Jazz taking on the Denver Nuggets, and that's opening Utah -3, currently sitting at -2.5. Total opening 220, and that has since had a little bit of movement. It went up a little bit, and now it's gone back down. It's sitting at 219. Utah leads this series 3-1. Denver on the ropes. One more game and they're done for. I will say I have to look towards Utah. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, ever since he's been taking on the primary ball handling duties, he's been looking really good. The Jazz have been looking really good. Mike Conley, he's found his shot. He's scoring his points. Jordan Clarkson, he's a spark plug off the bench. He's consistently putting in his close to 20 points per game. And Nuggets, they're not playing much defense at all. Now here in this game, it's a possibility they may get Gary Harris back, who's their best perimeter defender, but he's still not 100%, and he can't guard all three of those guys that I just named. For Denver on offense, um, Utah's defense hasn't been great either, but it's just you don't trust everybody to score here. I trust Jamal Murray to score. I don't fully even trust Jokic to score. So you just see the difference there in how these teams can score the basketball as far as Utah doing it more easily. And both teams, they've been pretty efficient on the offensive end. I have to go. I mean, I've seen Utah do it, and I'm not sure that Gary Harris, not even a healthy Gary Harris, makes the difference here in this game. So I have to look towards Utah minus the 2.5 points. I think it could be the last game here in this series for the Nuggets. And on the total, I disagree with the line move towards the under. I mean, it's went over 11 of the last 12 for Denver. And looking at Utah, as long as the total is less than 232, it's went over 8 of their last 9 games. Like I said, neither team's playing much defense here. Granted, both teams not playing very fast. Slowest pace in the playoffs thus far. It was kind of the slowest pace in the regular season as well. But it's just that those offenses have been so efficient. A lot of people can score the ball. I forgot to mention Porter Jr. for Denver. He can put the ball in the basket, but when he comes in the game, he's giving up buckets as well because he can't stop a soul on defense. So you see Utah, Donovan Mitchell in particular, pick on Porter Jr. or just keep doing the pick and roll until they get Porter Jr. and just go at him. And they're scoring at a high clip on him versus everybody else. So it's a danger to have him on the floor. And I just think we continue to see what we've already seen: minimal defense, efficient offense, and as long as it's a close game, it's went over 4 of the last 5 times, and that's since the bubble for these two teams. I don't think we see much different. The one time it went under was just because it was an absolute blowout, and I think this one is played a little bit closer. They've 4 of the last 5 have went over 221. I think we see that again here today. And if we're gonna look at player props, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Jordan Clarkson, like I said, he's averaging close to 20 points per game. We've been on him. He's a spark plug. Since they added him in about the middle of the season or whenever they added him, he was the boost that they needed because there would be times where the offense would just go through a dry spell, and he's the guy you can trust to put the ball in the basket. He's a walking bucket. I miss him on the Lakers. Clarkson over. It opened 16.5 points, and it's gone up a little bit. I think we're seeing now 17.5. I still think that's okay. I mean, he's like I said, he's averaging about 20, and I don't see any resistance from this Denver defense. That's the way I would go as far as a prop here. And Donovan Mitchell, I mean, if you're not going to take Clarkson, he's kind of the other catalyst. I mean, we talked about Mike Conley chipping in too and finding his shot, but Mitchell, he's been the main guy. He put up 50 points a couple of times. He's averaging 39.5 points per game in this series. His point total sitting at 28. Your choice. Is Gary Harris going to be able to slow him down or stop him? I don't think it's going to be too much of a difference. I mean, yeah, he's a good defender, but he's still not healthy. So I would lean Mitchell over the 28. I like Clarkson probably a little better, but those are the two props that I will be looking at. And we'll go move over to this next game. And next game is going to be Dallas Mavericks facing the Los Angeles Clippers. Opening Clippers -6. Currently seeing 7.5s out there. Total opening 236.5, and that has went down a tad. We're seeing 235.5. I agree with the line move for the Clippers. Mavs will be without Porzingis. He's saying he has a sore knee, and I mean, there's probably more to it than that. A sore knee holding you out of back-to-back playoff games, and you're tied in the series. I don't know. Probably more to it than that for Porzingis. Doncic, he's still on the injury report. He still has a sprained ankle. Granted, he went out there with a sprained ankle and did what he did in the last game, so he should be okay. Still probably wears him down though. Trey Burke also with the sprained ankle. That worries me. Those are three guys who are going to get buckets for Dallas. Three guys who are not going to be 100%, and one guy they're not even going to have at all. So Mavs coming off of a win, that's just not something I'm too interested in. I have a stat here for you. I mean, they just seem to let down, especially against the better teams. Looking at the Mavs off of a win, facing competition being 55% win teams or greater, and the line is 5 or higher, straight up and against the spread. The Mavs are 1-15. I just think it's kind of a exhale. We tied it up, kind of a letdown spot here. They're not as healthy. They're tired. They're beaten up. And then on the other side, I mean, the Clippers, they see the Lakers over there taking care of business. They're coming off of a loss at the last second. You know that they're pissed about it. And this is a team that you want to back off of a loss. They have a track record going back. I mean, my good friend Ralph Michaels tweeted out some data going back to, I saw a 2016 season. I believe it was Clippers after they trailed the previous game by double digits, or they were leading the previous game by double digits and then lost 13-0, I believe, against the spread and straight up. And I have another one. Just looking at them off of a loss and their favorite. This is this year, this season. As long as they had Kawhi and PG in the lineup off of a loss as a favorite, 0-0 against the spread and straight up. Average line -8.5. So I think the Clippers cover this game here. I think they give it to them from the start. If they come out and jump on them, I think they'll be pissed off, and I think they do it defensively. So I would agree with the line move on the total. Granted, both of these teams have been going over. Dallas, I think over 7 of their last 9, and Clippers over 8 of their last 10. That's been over 4 of the last 5 times these teams have played. But something has to be said for Clippers are supposed to be a good defensive team. They've been getting shown up. I mean, it's a great offense that they're going up against, but you just lost. You've lost 2 games already this series. You're giving up, 125 plus points? That's not the sign of a good defensive team. And I just think with Dallas hurt and Clippers off of that loss, I think that's the main focus today. I think it's defense. And looking at the Clippers, as long as Kawhi was in the lineup and their opponent in the last game scored 125 points or greater, the under is 7-2. So that's the way I want to look. The average total was 228, went under by about 10.6 points per game. So that's the way I tend to look at this game. I think the Clippers come out and control this game probably from the start to the end. And the way they do it defensively, they don't have a problem putting the ball in the basket. They just have to show up on defense. And good defensive teams, I'll name them as a good defensive team. When they get shown up or have a bad defensive outing, I think they bounce back. And that's what I'll expect from the Clippers here. So we'll go with the Clippers minus the 7 points, or 7.5 now, I'm sorry. And we'll look at the Clippers, and the Mavericks under the 235.5. And props over here, I mean, I don't love the props in this game. I like the props in the other game a lot more, but I mean, I'd be inclined to look at Paul George under, right? He's in his own head. He can't get out his own way. Maybe he just goes out there and plays some defense since he can't hit a shot. But until I see him start to get it together and look like PG, I'm calling him Paul George until then. So until he looks like PG, I'm not gonna expect him to put up 24 points. His point total sitting at 23.5. I don't think Paul George is gonna make it. The worst shooting player in the bubble. We'll see if he can snap out of it. But that's the player prop I will be looking at in this game. Thank you guys for rocking with me on another episode of Profits Picks. Best of luck if you tell. Good luck on all of your action. And let's do it again tomorrow.